Jim at RealTraps here. Welcome to the RealTraps factory. In this video, we will show you some strategies for getting great sounding tracks in unfamiliar spaces. You can use these strategies in any room, but if you're lucky enough to have a large room where the natural sound of the space is pleasant but a little too reverby, you can use the techniques shown in this video to take maximum advantage of the space, yet keep the reverb under control so that it complements rather than dominates the resulting recording. If you have a small room that doesn't sound as good, then you can skip the room mics we're going to use and instead simply use artificial reverb in the mix. The RealTraps factory is no different from any other industrial space. There are tall ceilings, a hard, concrete floor, and reflective surfaces everywhere. So what's our strategy for tackling such a room? Extensive bass trapping in the corner behind the performer is a no-brainer. And if there's room, there's no better corner treatment than mega traps. Bass trapping will always help just about any recording for reasons that should be familiar by now. See our other videos and articles if there's any doubt. In addition, we will absorb early reflections bouncing off the side walls and into the microphones by placing HF mini traps on stands along the side walls. These panels will provide additional bass trapping while also absorbing the direct high-frequency reflections bouncing off the wall and going into the microphones. This will dramatically clean up the recording in the close mics, making them all sound dry and focused, with a tiny fraction of the room tone that was there before. The RealTraps stands automatically space the traps away from the wall a few inches, which really helps their low-end performance. The RealTraps factory has tall ceilings, so it's not practical to install absorption above the performer. If this were a household room with shorter ceilings, absorption above the performer is hugely helpful, but does require installation. It's important to use good mic placement technique to get great sounding tracks. Today, we're recording Rob Kavjan from the band 1476, singing and playing 12-string acoustic guitar. To keep the live energy of the performances, and also to simplify this video recording, we decided not to use overdubs at all and record everything in one pass. This means that there will inevitably be bleed between the mic sources. Bleed isn't inherently a bad thing. Many engineers love some degree of bleed, which can help glue a mix together. However, it is still advantageous to have as much separation as possible in at least some of the mics used, so the voice and the guitar can be mixed separately. To capture this performance using enough tracks to get a wide variety of tone options during the mixdown, we'll use 6 microphones for this recording. 4 of them will be close to the performer, and 2 of them will be further out into the room. To achieve maximum separation in the close mics, we're going to use mics with a figure 8 pickup pattern. Figure 8 mics have the most rejection of all the various patterns at 90 degrees to the main pickup area. This design allows us to place the main 2 mics in a near coincident arrangement, with the null of the guitar mic pointing at the singer's mouth and with the null of the vocal mic pointing at the guitar. In a room with adequate absorption for early reflections, this technique can produce astonishing isolation. The acoustic guitar is a very complex instrument to record, in part because it sounds markedly different in different places. For instance, if you use a common technique with one mic pointed at the 12th fret and another mic pointed at the bridge, each mic will sound very different from one another. Often, these 2 mics are then panned in stereo to give an intimate acoustic guitar recording more depth. The extra overtones in a 12-string guitar make this even more complex, as a 12-string is noticeably louder and brighter than a 6-string, especially when strummed loudly. When placing these mics, it is essential that they be in phase with one another and with the center guitar mic. A bit of experimentation with placement in headphones and we can find just the right spot for them, where they play well with the main guitar mic. Here we are using ribbon mics, which have a smooth, unhyped high-frequency response to deal with the bright and loud 12-string. Lastly, we will place micro traps on stands in a semicircle around the performer, weaved in as tight as is comfortable around the mic stands. We want to find the right balance between not crowding the performer and controlling the ambient sound getting into the close mics. Because all 4 close mics being used are figure 8 mics, they pick up extensively from the rear. Therefore, I will make sure there's a panel in the rear pickup lobe of each microphone to minimize the ambient room sound coming into the rear of the mic. Note that none of these traps have been permanently installed. They're all freestanding, either on their own, as in the Mega Traps, or mounted to stands, as in the HF Mini Traps and the Micro Traps. For any recording session, having movable traps like these are a godsend. The last part of this strategy is to use the room mics to record the ambient sound of the performance in the room. These tracks can then be used during mixdown as natural reverb. Many engineers use this technique for drums. Squashing a room mic with heavy compression often makes the drums sound much punchier, for instance. But I find it works well for just about anything. If you have an interesting reverb in the room, why not capture it as part of the recording, rather than rely on adding artificial ambience? For this step, I will use 2 more microphones. The pickup patterns of these mics are cardioid, but it isn't hugely important which pickup pattern it is for room mics. You can take advantage of just about any microphone. Just move the mic around until you like the ambient tone. Often I will point the null of the mics toward the performer so the mic hears only the room sound with minimal direct sound. Additionally, all the instruments, and in this case it's voice and guitar, should be well balanced in that spot. The first mic will be above the performer in the panels to give a reasonably close snapshot of the performance in the room. For phase reasons, I will make sure the distance between Rob and the first room mic is at least 3 times the distance between Rob and the close mics. This is commonly known as the 3-to-1 phase rule. The second room mic will be much further back into the room to capture the biggest, wettest clump of sound possible. Between these 2 microphones, you can get a variety of possibilities. One famous example of this technique is Tony Visconti's work with David Bowie, where during quiet parts he would just use the close mic, then when Bowie got a little louder, the second mic would kick in, and then for the loudest parts of the song, the biggest sounding room mic would kick in for the biggest possible sound. So at this point, we have 6 microphones set up and are ready to begin tracking. To review, here are the sounds of each individual microphone. First is the vocal mic, which sounds like this.
All bearing down upon you.
The guitar bleeding into the vocal mic is a little bit louder than we'd like, but the 12-string guitar is very loud, especially relative to the volume of Rob's singing voice. The second mic is the main guitar mic, and this picks up the guitar and does a very good job of rejecting the vocals, and it sounds like this. Mics number 3 and number 4 are the stereo pair of ribbon mics that we use to pick up the guitar with a little more depth to it. We're going to play both of those at the same time, just for this demo, panned hard left and hard right. Those 2 mics sound like this. Again, note the surprising degree of separation that we get with these mics. You can hear the guitar very well, and Rob's voice is pretty far down in the mix. Lastly are the room mics. We're going to start with the overhead mic, which is placed up above Rob's head. That mic sounds like this. And then finally we have the main room mic, which is placed far away from the performer on the other side of the room to really pick up as much reverb as possible. And that mic sounds like this. These 6 microphones give you plenty of options during mixdown. You can mix the guitar and the voice separately with the isolation we've achieved using the figure 8 mics, and you can control exactly how much natural room ambience you want in the mix. Note that this is just one approach to a session like this. There are many ways to get a great sound, and we would never be foolish enough to claim that this is the only way to get great tracks. In addition, all of the mics used in this video are common, relatively inexpensive mics through similar preamps and converters, each signal chain not totaling more than $300. No boutique mics, preamps, or converters were used. While we definitely recommend using the best gear you have available to you, we wanted to show that great recordings can be made in good-sounding treated rooms with good engineering technique without requiring tens of thousands of dollars invested in gear. With that said, here's the finished track, recorded as shown in this video, mixed by Jonathan Wyman and performed by Rob Cavgen of 1476.
It's martyrdom's face that you bleed, but when time, the holy unmasker, draws back the sheet, you're just a shadow of your blind degree. Like a pawn or a shame-filled atom, you follow your reed. Bearing down upon you, the unforgiving rain in your soul, and when your sky is falling, there's nowhere safe you can go. We block out all light when we grieve. We wallow in storm clouds that thunder through skies with deceit. I'll just let go and fall from them free. And soon when you gaze up, it'll only be blue skies you see. Unforgiving rain in your soul, and when your sky is falling, there's nowhere safe you can go. Dark were the dead city streets when the angel light hemmed you down. All truth is before you to see, where it's horror and glory, golden crown. All bearing down upon you, the unforgiving rain in your soul, and when your sky is falling, oh, there's nowhere safe you can go.
Thanks for watching. We hope this video has been useful to you. If you'd like to consult with us on how to incorporate RealTraps into making your recording sound better, give us a call.